because you are being misled, and this goes all the way to the top. You're being told the economy is strong because it serves them to tell you that and for people to believe that, even though every single one of us feel it in our bones that that is not reality. And now the big news, which this is equivalent to World War I's assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. They say set off the war. We just had that moment in World War III today. Every fiat currency has died or is in the process of dying. The average life expectancy of a fiat currency is 27 years. The American dollar is cannibalizing itself. In this conversation right now, we're going to talk about the decrease in the purchasing power of the dollar, this absolutely unbridled monetary creation, and a decrease in the confidence in the currency itself. Meanwhile, our biggest creditors, such as Japan and China, are unloading U.S. treasuries, and now oil is being traded in currencies other than the U.S. dollar more and more each day. And for the first time ever, there is a realistic competitor to the reserve currency status of the American dollar, that being the BRICS new gold-backed currency. And I've said all of this before we even talked about the central bank digital currency, or this massive great American debt bomb that is suddenly going to start to matter a lot. You might be asking, well then, what do I do about all of this? Well, there are things that you should do. There are actions you should take, choices you need to make, risks to avoid. In this video, you're going to see what's happening right now, and then you're going to see what happens next. And therefore, a whole bunch of things that you can do about it. What happens next is the important part. That's where you're going to make all the right decisions. That's going to help you land on your feet and help the people that you care about. We all need to make choices right now to get through this great economic transition in the best way possible. The potential economic reset is going to have a lot of commotion, a lot of risks, and a lot of really big opportunities. In every deck of cards, there's one suicide king. In the world of fiat currencies, there's many suicide currencies, but there's one above all others. I've divided this video into 9 really important parts, and they go in order too. So part number 1, where it all starts, fiat currency. Fiat means by decree. When a king would say, this is the coin of the realm. Now, a fiat currency isn't backed by anything. It's just a piece of paper with some ink on it, and they say this is a $20 bill. This is a $5 bill. This is worth 4 times the $5 bill. It's all just confidence that we put into money. It's an idea that we all agree upon. If you give me a $20 bill, I know I can take that and go down and get some sushi and a green tea, maybe have a little bit left over for a movie. In the old days, at least, anyways. I think it costs a lot more now. But President Richard Nixon closed the gold window and the convertibility of gold for U.S. dollars. At that point, the U.S. dollar was a fiat currency. It was not backed by anything. It used to be backed by actual money, which is gold. So each dollar is worth a little bit of gold. So there's all these fiat currencies. Every currency in the world right now is a fiat currency. And they're all floating around together. And you say, wow, the Japanese yen is getting stronger compared to the US dollar, and it's declining. Oh wait, now the dollar's getting stronger and the euro is coming down. So the euro is weak, their economy is weaker. And it's all based on nothing underlying it. So it's the comparisons to a whole bunch of fiat currencies to each other that gives the illusion of some kind of value there. Every fiat currency has died or is in the process of dying. The average life expectancy of a fiat currency is 27 years. This is from Real Unit. Fiat currencies are breathing their last breath. The average lifespan of a fiat currency is only 27 years. The dollar, US dollar, became a fiat currency on August 15th, 1971. Thank you, Richard Nixon.
Usually what is best for America is also best for Israel and vice versa. But on occasions, for example, an American president must make a decision that does not in effect give the Israelis a blank check.
This makes the dollar right now today 53 years old, nearly double the average life of a fiat currency already. The Swiss franc's tie to gold was severed in the 2000s, and every currency is now simply fiat. Number 2, monetary creation. I've showed you this chart many times. It's from the St. Louis Fed. Here's how much money the government is producing, creating, just to pay down the bills for the things we've already agreed to purchase. So you've got a fiat currency, which opens the gates for complete monetary creation and abuse of the system, which leads to, number 3, inflation. Inflation is slowing. Here's why prices still aren't going down. This is from CNBC. Historical data suggests a key factor in bringing down prices is a slowdown in consumer spending. I talked about exactly that in one of the recent videos. I told you that consumer spending is 70% of all the U.S. economy, and that they could go on strike, stop going to dinner, stop buying expensive things, stop buying even inexpensive things. If the consumers shut down, the economy shuts down. And this is all despite the fact that nearly half of Americans say that they're in worse financial shape than 5 years ago. And they say that, but they're still spending. But the thing is that they're just spending more, but they're getting less. You can talk about shrinkflation, you can talk about phantom inflation, you can talk about rising costs. But you're simply paying more to get less. Here's the core consumer prices from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's a 1-year chart, straight climb higher and higher. And here is a 5-year chart. And by the way, just before we get to number 4, I'm going to tell you what this is all leading up to. I'm trying to build a story here for you. We're going to lead up to one point, and then I'm going to tell you many things that you can consider doing about it. Some of them I think you should do, at least about 3 of them. But first, I have a couple of must-see charts that I've got to show you. And once you get the inflation, it starts making things cost more for consumers, and that causes the consumer confidence to plummet. There's consumer confidence from the Conference Board, and I always tell you that it's about the speed or the slope of the decline that matters a lot more than the final destination. This article is a great example of that. Consumer sentiment tumbles as inflation fears surge. From CNBC, the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index was widely expected to come in at 76, and it was 67.4, a 1-month decline of 12.7%. Let me say that again clearly that you understand. A 12.7% decline in consumer confidence, consumer sentiment in 1 month. That is free fall. And here's what it looks like on a chart. This is Michigan consumer sentiment. And by way of comparison, the next chart will be Michigan consumer sentiment for 5 years. The 1-year inflation outlook jumped to 3.5%, to the highest level since November 2023. And when you lose confidence among your own people, domestic people in America, it also goes beyond that worldwide. Internationally, a lot of confidence gets lost, and it's likely and arguably more important for the confidence to be in the other international central banks. When China and Japan are both lowering their holdings of U.S. debts, that says something. And it's not being weaponized, it's being a result of some of their own domestic problems. Both Japan and China economically are in a little bit of trouble, so they're not so aggressively buying up American debt like they've done all this time because we are the reserve currency. We're not going to be expecting a lot of foreign help anymore. That changes the entire game. Not only are they not buying, they are selling. Shows you that 5 countries are holding the majority of US dollar denominated debt. And what I showed you before, the arrows were on the wrong side of this. This is where it was previously, and now here is where it has come down to right now. Now think of this. China produces more gold, digs up more gold than any other country in the world. They also keep that gold while importing more gold than any other country in the entire world. At the same time, Chinese citizens are loading up on gold like crazy. They're going nuts, 4 times the regular levels. They're all about gold because they understand it's going to be the power behind this upcoming BRICS currency, and that it's actual real money when they're worried about their stock market, their housing market, and even their currency. They're moving into cryptocurrencies, which we're going to talk about in this video coming up. And gold, they're trying to get their money out of China. And now the big news, which this is equivalent to World War I's assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. They say set off the war, which it didn't. But that was a straw that broke a camel's back, so to speak. We just had that moment in World War III today. We've officially put sanctions on China. That's a mistake in so many ways that I have to make an entirely different video about it. That is bad news. So you've got a fiat currency, which opens the gates to monetary creation, which causes inflation, which reduces consumer confidence, which spreads worldwide to international confidence in the dollar. And then what happens next? You start looking at Or you go under the hood, take a look at the financial data we're getting. Number 6. This is from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. This is the trade deficit. And keep in mind that this is 0 here. So anything beneath this number is how many billions of dollars more we're sending out than we're bringing in terms of buying and selling each other's products and commodities. This is an ongoing systemic trade deficit that we need to absolutely reverse to get this economy back on track. This is from the St. Louis Fed, manufacturing in the United States. And what this does not take into account is the effect of all the onshoring that we're seeing now. A lot of companies that went to China, for example, are now bringing their manufacturing back home, which is the most important step to start getting everything back on track. And it's really good news. You see, so I'm not all doom and gloom. I'm not fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I'm just telling you what I see. I always tell you reality. It just so happens that there's a lot of negative reality right now. This, manufacturing, is a very positive reality. It's actually a great trend that will really help the economy. And I've been trying to figure out why things didn't play out with the big inflationary bounce exactly as I predicted. I thought it would be a bounce. Everything said it was going to be a bounce, so I'm looking into it, trying to figure it out. And I told you, too, right here is the war. The war between inflationary forces and anti-inflationary forces. This is the 1-year inflation rate from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You'll see it just ramped up to 3.5. This is the battle, though, here between artificial intelligence, robotics, both of which bring down inflation, quantum computing, eventually one of these days soon, computer learning, drones, even consumers getting stretched. That's anti-inflationary. All of that versus the inflationary forces, which are this, which leads us to number 7, driven by debt. We all know what happens when a teenager gets a credit card. This is from Statista. This is public debt. And the other thing that drives public debt, just like hiring government workers drives the debt and also drives up the GDP, same with military purchases. This is a great image that I love very much as soon as I saw it. U.S. defense spending compared to other nations. This is from the Peter G. Peterson Foundation. And it's a great look at what we're dealing with here. And a lot of the spending is getting even more extreme because a lot of that money is going to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. That's from Al Jazeera, $95 billion worth. And you might say, Taiwan, why Taiwan? The war coming with China is kind of like it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. You understand Putin. You know what's going on in Ukraine. You understand what's happening in Israel. You might even have an opinion about how it's going to turn out. People aren't as confident in understanding what China's going to do, how they're going to do it, especially with the technologies they have, taking out satellites and cutting underwater internet cables. But here's a chart from Stansberry Research about reserve currencies and what everything is leading up to. Obviously, I tell you that a reserve currency is a time in the sun for the US dollar, but it has an end date. So invariably, we lose the reserve currency status, and so you would then logically also use the benefits that we gained because we have the reserve currency, which is about quality of life and standard of living. And to cover over a lot of the mistakes that have already been made by politicians in the public eye, the ones that are still alive, obvious mistakes they've made that are going to start coming down to haunt us now. One of the ways they're going to get around all of this is going to get us into a central bank digital currency. That'll be part of the transition. At that point, though, they're going to be able to fully control you. I don't know if you guys understand. I have a very scattered, splintered, creative thought process. There are so many things that it's going to be a whole other individual video of what they could do with a CBDC. They won't do it at first. They'll do it eventually. You could be buying cigarettes, and it's your second pack of cigarettes you bought that week, and all of a sudden the price is more. Anything, there's things like that. That's just an example. They will completely control, track, and own everything we do. You need to join a group or start a group that fights against the CBDC. It's a mistake. It's going to be a horrible thing. It'll open the gates to a lot of dark times. Finally, we're at number 9 out of 9. What is this all leading up to? It's leading up to a massive currency crisis and an absolute loss of faith in the US dollar, loss of trust, loss of value. A lot of things will happen because of that, such as gold spiking as one simple example, commodity prices spiking. There's a bunch. We're going to get into exactly what to do about all of this, and that takes into account a lot of things that are going to do better because the US dollar is going to go downhill so fast, in my opinion. I just have a whole bunch of bullet points of things to consider doing. Just get your mental gears turning. I think that everybody should choose at least 3 of these, if not many more, but I'm just going to tell you what the bullet points are. Number 1, I think that every single person should either support or join or start a group against the CBDC. If I had time, I would do that. Next, I suggest that you think of gold as the anti-dollar. When the dollar goes down, gold comparatively is going the other way. Whereas I always tell you, gold just sits there. Dollar goes up and down around it, and it just sits there. Gold is gold. One is gold is gold. And when all these fiat currencies are floating around, comparison to each other, one's getting stronger, one's getting weaker, people are tracking it, people are talking about it, that gives you the illusion of strength. During this whole time where they're floating around, gold neither got stronger or weaker. It just sat there. That's the point, though. That's what you want, because these currencies are all going to be coming down because they're fiat currencies. The average lifespan of a fiat currency is 27 years. The American dollar is 53 years old. The fact that we have 2 coasts and no significant enemy right beside us, that buys us a little bit of life. We've got plenty of resources, got a lot of ingenuity, and that's part of what's keeping the US dollar reserve currency strong for so long. This currency does have an end date. Next, you need to narrow your focus in any situation. The more you refine your focus, the stronger it gets. If you're investing in 12 different types of stocks, figure out what you think. Well, I can't tell you what to do. I tell you what I do. I like to pinpoint invest. I think gold's going to do well. I think oil's going to do well. So I put years ago, a massive portion of my personal portfolio into gold mining stocks, not exploration, productive companies, and oil and gas. The more you diversify, the more you get a little bit of what everybody else is getting. As I explained in my book, Upthinking, people don't necessarily want, and it's not as valuable as making money if it's the same as everybody else. You want to do a little bit better than everybody else. You can't do that through diversification. This is not personal trading advice. I'm just telling you some things that I think about. But you'll be fine if you get into any commodity stuff, base metal investments. They'll all do very well. We're all entering a commodity super cycle right now. And talking about my personal portfolio, as you guys might know, neither myself nor my employees ever invest in any of the stocks we talk about. We're talking about a couple hundred stocks every year. We can't even get involved with that. And I'm jealous of it because a lot of times I'll put out a stock pick where I go, I would mortgage my house to put money into the stock. And I can't do it until I officially make a statement that I've started doing it. And I haven't got there yet. It's very important to always avoid any conflict of interest, especially in this industry. So many people are talking their book or they're taking money from the companies they talk about. You also want to educate yourself, the right kinds of education, because you are being misled. And this goes all the way to the top. You're being told the economy is strong because it serves them to tell you that and for people to believe that, even though every single one of us feel it in our bones that that is not reality. The way we've been able to fake it for this long is because every single thing that we're having and that we're doing, we're paying for all of it on debt. By inflating this massive American debt bomb, they've been able to give our economy a natural long life. And if you're going to be seriously about educating yourself, getting the right kinds of information, then that means that I'm going to ask you to subscribe to this channel, because this is what we keep an eye on for you. This is what we talk about. There's a lot of opportunities that are about to start coming up that I want to make sure you benefit from. You're going to want to scale back your spending because we may be entering a tough economic time. That means scale back the wrong kinds of spending. If you're going to pay 55 cents a day for the Peter Leeds newsletter, don't scale that back because it'll help you turn hundreds into thousands. But if you've got a bunch of recurring billing transactions on a credit card that your kids bought somehow that they once needed, that they don't use anymore, that you're paying for every month, get rid of that stuff. Try to spend less. A lot of stuff you're going to want, you don't need. Maybe focus more on stuff that you actually need. For now, it's not forever. Get a side hustle, work more hours, whatever you got to do. Rent out the room in your basement that's just sitting there. There's always angles to try and minimize the negative effects of this economic transition that we're all going to be dealing with very soon. In nearly every video I put out, in every news headline or article I read about the global economy, they all say the same thing. They all say, and I tell you this often, you are going to want to own some gold. Physical gold, pure physical gold, or silver at least. If you can't afford a gold bar, go down to Costco, buy one, split it with 3 of your friends, take that to a jeweler and go divvy this up for us. You're going to want to own either some gold or some silver. If you have just silver, you'll be just as well. But also own some of the stocks that mine for that metal. And another anti-dollar is Bitcoin, because it's limited supply, unlike the US dollar. They can just print unbelievable amounts of the American dollar. Bitcoin is limited. That's what gives it its value. That's why I suggest that you don't go into a lot of the altcoins, because a lot of them are unlimited. So therefore, there's no actual real value there, even if there was value. But I always say, if you're going to get into cryptocurrencies, buy Bitcoin or Ethereum only. Why do I say that? If you read the book Positioning by Al Ries and Jack Trout, one of the best books I've ever read, check it out. $20, you're going to understand completely why Bitcoin and Ethereum will be around 10 years from now. A lot of the altcoins might not be. There's positions in your mind, hierarchies. If you go to 5 people that you know, 5 friends individually, ask them to name 5 cryptocurrencies. They'll all say Bitcoin. They'll all say Ethereum, usually. I don't know who you hang out with, but most people will say Ethereum and Bitcoin. And the other answers will be a mix of a whole bunch of different stuff from all the fragmented thousands and thousands of various cryptocurrencies that are out there. Understand that money flows will not be going risk on, they'll be going risk off. So they're moving from things like the Magnificent Seven, high-flying, high PE stocks, those companies in the newest or hottest industries, highly leveraged companies like a lot of the technology companies are, a lot of these money-losing pharmaceutical companies. I personally avoid those. And no, don't get into GameStop. And I'll tell you why. There might be some money to be made, speculative, playing, taking a chance. Have fun with it. But it's not replicable. What you want to do is make 20% and then be able to scale it or to do it more frequently. You make 20%. Here's how you do it. This is what kind of stock you invested in. And then do it again and again and again. There's nothing replicable about what's going on with GameStop right now. You might make money, you might lose money. Most people getting involved in this will lose money. But it's not replicable. Move on to a better opportunity. Now, this is always true, but more so right now than ever. Cut your losses early. Let your gains run. If you've got a lot of these gold mining and silver mining stocks that are doing so well, I wrote an alert the other day saying that you're crazy to sell now. Don't sell yet. Don't jump out too soon. This has got a long way to run. But you also want to cut your losses very early if the stock starts going the wrong way or not doing what you expected it to do. And remember, there's people who don't need your help right now that you're going to need to help them in the event of the recession or they get laid off. There's a lot of people who are okay right now that might not be 6 months, 4 years from now that you're going to have to help. So consider that in your mind. It's not just about helping your kids and your elderly parents, your friends too, extended family, anybody you can help, because this could be a matter of life. It will be a matter of life or death for a lot of people. For some people, they might not even notice anything. Other people, it'll be very bad. Maybe you're going to need to be able to be in a position, and how good would that feel, to help them in their time of need. And another thing you can do in that vein is spread the word. There's people who need to hear this message because they have no idea. They're going to get blindsided. So what you can do is share this message with your friends. This is not a backdoor way of trying to get you to share the video, but you can just send them this video or tell your friends about it, because if you give it to them, it will help them. They'll be grateful to you for having opened their eyes. My business guru, Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth, he said that always turn your biggest obstacle into your biggest opportunity. Your biggest obstacle right now is this complete economic transition. At the same time, there will be a few select opportunities that are going to make all the difference for the people who get involved with them. That's what I'm going to try to help you do. I'm going to show you what I believe to be the best opportunities at the best possible time so that you land on your feet, you can help the people you care about, and you can live to fight another day. If you want direct contact with me, You can join the Peter Leeds Army for as low as $3. You'll get my direct email contact in the Peter Leeds Insider exclusive newsletter. And there's a link how to do that below. Or you can just go to peterleeds.com/insiders.